Hello, good evening. Welcome to our front. This evening, the NDC members of parliament have accused the government of illegally starving metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies of the needed, scarce, and relevant funds for them to operate. According to the MPs, there's been a directive that's gone out to all MMDCs that the direct transfer allocated to and approved for the MDCs should be strictly applied as follows. First, for school feeding; 2, for National Builders Corps; 3, for planting for food and jobs; and the balance for Assemblies' own projects, which is supposed to take only 20% of the amount of money involved in this particular case. Is this right? Is this in accordance with law? And is this the appropriate thing to do, mindful of the earlier indications of capping of these other statutory funds? We would ask the people who are making the claim to justify this claim and get government to respond to the matters here on our front. After this break, I'll let you know who my guest is. Hello, good evening. You're welcome to our front. My name is Raymond Darkwa. My guest today is the deputy ranking member on the local government committee of parliament, and he's also the whole central MP. Yes, and he's also the whole central MP. Honorable Benjamin Podo, you are welcome to our front.
Thank you very much, Raymond.
I hope you are doing well this evening.
I'm very well, and I hope you are well too. And I think that our listeners too are well.
Okay, now one of the issues that we'll be raising on this context is also to do with, before we even get into the District Assembly Common Fund, in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana this evening, the Communications Minister was there to discuss, to exposit, and actually bring out all the issues connected to this particular Kelni GVG contract with the Republic of Ghana. This $89 million contract is supposed to ensure that there is some assurance of the revenue from the various telcos given to government. There are issues being raised by civil society on this particular issue, but let's get Parliament's appreciation of it. So you asked for her to come. She came. She spoke into detail about this particular contract. Are you now satisfied that it's a clean, worthwhile, and the best deal you can get for revenue assurance, as she puts it in this case?
Raymond, I think we concluded the discussions today and went away unsatisfied. We were not satisfied because what we asked the Speaker to do, he didn't do. We were calling for a clearer and deeper investigation into the issues concerning this contract. So, just to put it straightforward, we were not satisfied.
So what exactly do you mean when you say you demanded clearer, deeper investigations into what happens to be an exposition by the Communications Minister on the final details you asked for in Parliament?
Number one, we want to get an understanding of why the existing contracts with Suba and AfriWave were terminated. What did they not do well?
Was that question not answered?
No.
It said that it wasn't a better deal. We had a better deal now.
We do not feel that the process of terminating the contract was okay. What was the evidence? We didn't have any.
But you in the minority do not represent Suba or any of these companies. You represent the people of this republic.
Yes.
So we want to considered opinion that even if Ghana gained at the expense of Suba, that's a problem.
What I'm saying is that we want to know what Suba did not do well. Whether there were any queries in the process of their performance that, oh, you are supposed to do this, you haven't done it according to the terms of the contract. And whether there were any penalties or threats of penalties against the existing companies before the contracts were terminated. And I also want you to know that Suba is in court. If Suba felt that the contract was genuinely taken away from them, they wouldn't go to court. So we think that there is more to it. We are trying to find out why the payment system has changed, and that has not been explained. This new group, Kelni GVG, is being paid $1.5 million per month. irrespective of what work they do, they are going to do.
Suba was being paid for nothing.
No,
that's what the minister
they were paying Suba and Afriwave based on the incremental realization of revenue. If revenue did not go up as a result of their work, then they were not going to get any payment.
The minister insists Suba was being paid for nothing. She said it in Parliament. You were there.
But we don't agree with her.
I mean, what does the fact really stipulate? Your agreement may not be necessarily factual.
No, what we are saying is that Suba was doing its work, and that even resulted in some penalties being issued to the telcos. In several millions of cedis were paid by them upon the realization that
assurance duties, we couldn't have actually issued these penalties.
You see, we are questioning the details, and we don't think that mere statement on the floor of the House was going to be enough. That's why we are calling for a probe. And that's what we normally do in Parliament. When a case is brought, there's so much sharp division, it is referred to a special committee or the committee that works on that particular sector, so that they will go into it and report back to Parliament. So a mere statement by the minister to the House with contributions from both sides will not do it, because the technical work that should be done to do the evaluation. For instance, we are asking that what business appraisal was made about the 15-year payments that will be made to the new company. Somebody is taking it based on output. And this one, you are paying a fixed amount over a given period. What cash flow has been prepared and then analyzed, discounting the present values to what future flows will be coming out of the whole exercise before you even go for it. You are just paying $1.5 million every month. And the worst part of it is that the telcos have not hooked onto the platform of the new company.
You can't say that all of them have not done so.
But the minister said it.
Not all.
Yes, the minister said not all have done so far.
Yes, some have actually done so.
Yes, but they are paying the full amount. So for what? These are the questions we are asking, and we think require further probe into the matter.
Are you doing this because it was during your party in power's time that Suba was contracted? I
think they are rather doing it that way, that because the earlier companies were contracted during the period of the Mahama administration, when they come, they should remove them. And they are doing so many other things like that.
Okay, let's be clear. Are you also seeking, among other things, to protect or do other things to push the agenda of Suba?
If Suba was
contracted during the time when your party was in power.
We do not have the contract here.
No, to be fair,
but
if Suba has been contracted, sorry, you seem to suggest that when the what they call it, it's on the other side. When it is to do with government, they are doing it merely because power has changed hands.
You have proposed that,
and I am asking you, those of you in the NDC who are fighting hard for a private entity in this republic against government's interest currently, are you doing it because you cherish Suba more than government?
What you are saying was your own suggestion to me.
Yes, and I'm saying that,
and I'm telling you that it's rather they who are doing that.
I want you to answer your question from you.
Can I explain?
Yeah, because you made the point to me at first. And
no, you are asking me that question. I'm saying that they are rather doing it because they feel that there was the appointment was done by the previous government, and they are now in power, so they should change it. So simply changing it, that's what they are doing. If Suba and Afriwave were doing something which were untoward, the agreement in the contract can be activated to make them perform. You see the point? So if you come and without due process, you begin to change them in that manner, then we rather read political meanings into it.
How many companies have this government terminated their contracts with government without due process? Do you recall all?
I do not have. You didn't prompt me about this.
I want to know whether you do recall all.
I want to refer you to the Bank of Ghana agreement with Sipton.
Yes.
That one too has been changed.
Yes, that's just true. That's been the public domain for a very long time.
Yes.
So, again, I'm asking whether you do recall all other government engagements that have been cancelled.
Well, what I'm saying is that this one in front of us...
What I say is not you recalling or not recalling. I'm asking whether you can recall all the government engagements that have been cancelled.
I cannot give you a schedule now.
Okay, so my
difficulty if you want a schedule, so we can go into it and we'll produce them to you.
You and your colleagues in Parliament are particularly interested in Suba and also in Sipton because of the political attachment to these particular deals.
You are putting it to me.
Yes.
I have told you that they are rather doing that.
So you are not doing that?
No, we are not in power. Have we changed any company?
No, I'm asking that.
We have not changed any company. But you are protecting
the company you put there. That's why you are advocating for them.
It's not protection. We are trying to insist on good governance. That
really?
Yes, it's good governance. If you have a contract with a particular company, particularly where it is even a local company, and you come into power and you begin to manipulate a change from that company to another one, which you think you prefer, because you didn't appoint or you didn't sign a contract with the former one, then it is bad governance. And
it is interesting that the people who are raising the bad governance placard are the people who signed the contract with this particular company in the first place. It's not curious.
Was Imani part of the agreement? Imani is raising hell about this.
Imani opposed Suba. Imani opposed Afriwave. They've been consistent.
The Imani people are even saying that this thing is completely unnecessary.
Yes, they say that don't do it at all. They say it should have been brought in Suba in the first place. So if it's Imani, that's your defense. They have actually opposed your own deals too. They are not fighting for Suba actually.
Not as this one we are experiencing now.
Okay, so how much was government paying to Suba monthly?
I told you that the Suba and Afriwave contract were based on incremental realization of revenue.
What was the base amount?
I don't have the schedule of the payments they were making to Suba and Afriwave for the past 2 years. I haven't got their schedule. I've not gone to GRA to collect the payments they were making.
That were being paid
the payments that they were making on a monthly basis.
Would you contest?
That is not my focus. My focus is that
what
is the basis for paying them.
Would you contest the claim?
We are talking about a payment based on output, and then another payment based on, just fixed payment without regard to whatever happens, whatever the company, the new company does or not. There's a fixed payment for it.
Okay,
I can even make them lazy.
I get your point. Would you contest the claim that now the company they've engaged, Kelni GVG, is being paid far lesser than they were being paid to Suba and Afriwave? Would you contest that claim?
I will contest that claim
based on
the basis that this is fixed, whether you work or not. Yes.
Really? That was the same argument we were being put across when it came to Suba, that we're going to get money for free, whether they actually launched onto any work or not. And that was unjustified.
Once telcos knew that Suba was watching, they would even be encouraged to do the right thing. And that was what could have led to lower payments. So if you are saying that, am I contesting the claim that this payment is lower than that? I cannot confirm what you are saying.
I get your point.
I cannot confirm what you are saying.
But you are not contesting it too?
No, I will contest it on the basis of the mode of payment.
I get your point.
Yes, now, that is what I'm emphasizing. That even if Suba payment is higher than this current one, the point is that they may have produced more. They may have worked harder.
I'm not even contesting that. What I'm actually contesting now, and this is a question, forgive me, is to find out from you. So you are not satisfied with the answers from the Honorable Minister of what they call it, for Communications. Are you going to specifically make other claims to government to actually provide details, or go to court, or use other means to make sure that your voice is heard appropriately?
Well, you know, Parliament is a big forum where we've made our voices heard, both from the minister's endpoint and from our point of view. We've all made our issues very, very clear. And we expected that the speaker would call for a probe into this. But we are not working alone. We are not working alone. Civil society is also interested in this. You know, the Deputy Minister, George, was a member of, what is that, that AFG or whatever they call it.
Which one?
The one which opposed Suba.
Occupy Ghana.
Occupy Ghana.
And AFAG?
AFAG, yes.
Was he a member of AFAG too?
I think he was working with the Imani group against some of these things. That's why Kofi Bentil is accusing him of having come there and changed his colors, because they were all working together for sanity to prevail in the system. But now that he's come to government, he has changed colors and he's doing exactly what they were opposing. Okay. You see? So if Imani and George Anda did not understand one another at the time to do one thing, they wouldn't be disagreeing now.
Okay, I get your point. The question I'm asking is, what are you going to do to protect Ghanaians and the contract you say was not in the right interest of the country?
You see, the Suba company is in court.
Yes.
Yes. So,
but still, you asked for them to come and brief you on this particular matter. You knew they were in court.
Yes.
You also knew and you wanted a probe.
You know, Parliament can continue doing its work.
I get you, but you did not get a probe today.
Yes. So we didn't get that. So we.
What's the way forward for you?
The way forward will be, first of all, to get the court's rulings, and then we will continue to press civil society to carry out its own duties.
Looks like
and if it comes
like you as Parliament have given up.
No, if it comes to a point where we do not get satisfied with all the other stakeholders coming in for a change to be effected, then we will advise ourselves. And you don't expect me to come and sit here and be telling you all the ammunitions inside our.
It actually sounded, looked to me that there is no other plan involved. You would have laid it out a long time ago, Honorable.
No,
mindful of your experience.
No, I'm not. First of all, I am not a member of the communication committee, and we have to study the situation. The issues came up today.
Okay,
and then you go back and plan the next steps forward.
I get you.
Yes.
The next leg of our conversation is where you are directly involved and you did a press conference on. This is in connection with the Local Government Committee of Parliament, where you are deputy ranking member. You have raised some very serious allegations that the government of this republic has issued directive to all the municipal, metropolitan and district chief executives to directly transfer or allocated to and approved for the MDCCs should be strictly applied to 40% for school feeding, 20% for National Builders Corps, that's the 100,000 jobs we want to create, planting for food and jobs, 20%, and the balance is for the own projects of the Assembly. Exactly what is the basis of this claim, Honorable?
Thank you. Raymond, somebody called me this afternoon. I said, oh, Uncle, I saw you on TV. And I said, on what? He said, oh, you were talking about local government something. I said, what did I say? He said, oh, okay, I've forgotten. You see, it appears that the general public does not even know what the District Assembly's Common Fund is. So it is worthwhile for us to go into its background. The Constitution of Ghana in Article 252.
Okay, 1.
Establishes the District Assembly's Common Fund. And in 2, states clearly how much should be paid into the fund. Not less than 5% of the total revenues of Ghana to the district assemblies for development. And the amount shall be paid into the District Assembly's Common Fund in quarterly installments. Then 3, the monies accruing to the district assemblies in the Common Fund shall be distributed among all the district assemblies on the basis of a formula approved by Parliament. So these 3 clauses are very important.
I get you.
And they have been amplified in Act 936, which is the Local Governance Act.
Okay.
In Section 126. clauses 1 and 2. Now, this fund is meant to be given to the district assemblies. You see, there was a decentralization concept. We are not a federal state.
Yeah.
They are unitary. But the framers of the constitution intended some level of decentralization so that the local areas can have their latitude to apply funds from this source to develop their own areas based on their needs. So the rules of the game must be applied. Anytime you go contrary to these rules set out in the two documents I've referred to, then it means you are doing something illegal. So in March this year, well, even before that, there was an earmarked funds capping and realignment act, Act 947, passed last year, to cap all earmarked funds up to 25% of revenue. Strangely, District Assembly's Common Fund, which is a constitutional fund, constitutionally established fund, also went into the act. And all complaints that it should be taken out were not heeded. However, the District Assembly's Common Fund, which should have received 2.4 billion in the 2018 budget, was given 1,812,144,435.
So because of that, it was cut down. That's what you mean?
That is number one from the capping, from the capping act. That is the first casualty. Now, a formula was presented to Parliament on March 22nd to show the distribution of the 1.812 billion. That is the capped amount, 1.812 billion. And 19 line items received allocations. You can look at the document here in front of me. I can just make a few references. The National Youth Authority Act 939 allocates 5% to the NYA. The Youth Employment Agency had 10%, which is about 181 million Ghana cedis. National Disaster Management received 1.5, which is roughly 27.2 million Ghana cedis. So these statutory deductions directly amount to 299 million out of the 1.812 billion I talked about. Then we have provisions for national education, waste management, seed capital for new MMDA's buildings. Then we have amounts for cured lepers, people with disabilities. After all these deductions for 18 line items, the amount left for the district assemblies direct transfer came to 905,999,982. So when we say net direct transfer, it means that this amount will go to the assemblies. Remember, the assemblies had done their budgets earlier.
Composite budgets.
Yeah, the previous year. And gotten that to the assemblies, general assemblies, and approved for execution in 2018. So these monies have to be transferred to them. They have already captured them in their budget.
Okay.
So what is it that you are doing when you give them directive that instead of this amount coming to you wholly for your own local development projects, you are now going to have only 20%. So the statistical or the arithmetic computation of it is that if 905, roughly 906 million were directly distributed over the 254 assemblies, then each assembly will have 3,566,000 Ghana cedis, so that they will determine what to do with this sum, whether to build a market, whether to build a drain, whether to build a classroom, whether to build a toilet. All the assemblymen have electoral areas. They have brought their development expectations to the assembly. They were incorporated in their budget. So these amounts were supposed to be used for these projects. Now, you are taking 8%, 80% of this, amounting to over 720 million. So you leave for the assemblies only 181 million. That 181 million, when you now redistribute it on a theoretical average basis over the 254 district assemblies, then you are left with only 713 per assembly. This is the issue we are raising. So number one, it is illegal because the 80% being taken out of the 905 million has not been brought to the House for approval, has not been approved by the House.
It's not part of the District Assembly's Common Fund distribution formula. It's
not part of the formula. And for your information, during the debate, this was mentioned. But I can read to you what Parliament told the minister. It is in the Hansard of 22nd March 2018. In order, okay, let me read the full report.
But what's up with my time? If you could just drill down to the most important part.
Okay. In order not to defeat the purpose for which the DACF was established, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should strictly adhere to the provisions of the Earmarked Funds Capping and Realignment Act 2017, Act 947. And here this one. And not further offload programs onto the already capped funds of the fund.
So I get your point.
Yes, so
Parliament rejected this particular decision to take 80% and put into other programs,
yes,
rather than giving it to district assemblies directly for their programs.
Yes.
And
so
yet
that's
they went ahead to do it.
Yes, that's why we are saying they are doing it on the blind side of Parliament.
And you say that is illegal?
It is illegal.
A contravenes which specific law? Let's be clear.
Act 126.
Not 252 again.
No, I wanted to give you the enabling act, but
because really, are you talking about Act 936?
Yes, but I can give you the
Section 126 of that particular act.
The section that has been
breached
is the monies accruing to the district assemblies in the common fund shall be
distributed. Exactly which section are you reading?
2523.
Okay, let me be clear. You are dealing with the Constitution or which
one?
Constitution. So which article?
Article 2523.
Okay, I get you.
If you want to read it yourself.
Please proceed.
The monies accruing to the district assemblies in the common fund shall be distributed among all the district assemblies on the basis of a formula approved by Parliament. So if you are...
So Parliament approved the formula, they deviated from the formula.
Yes. Okay. They went and changed it and gave different directives.
Okay.
So we are saying that it is illegal.
Have they already distributed the amount of money in question today? The 900 million?
No. You are coming to a different place.
Sorry.
This is an annual budget.
Yes, I get
annual formula.
Yes.
So the monies come into the fund, the consolidated fund, on a quarterly basis. So as and when revenues are collected by government, they give out what is due to the Assembly's Common Fund. So they have not disbursed money.
Yes. I think you have to be how do you claim that they have directed them? This directive you make reference to, when was it issued? Specific date?
No, I don't have the specific date, but there were seminars held.
Where was it issued?
Wait. So you just...
Forgive me, I just wanted to be clear.
Yes. One was done in Kumasi. In fact, let me just make reference to one specific place. A workshop was held in Kumasi for all MMDA managers. That's the chief executives, the coordinating directors, the MFOs and DFOs. And the instruction was given to them that the money we are sending to you will no longer all be used the way you want to use it.
The instruction was given by who?
By the Common Fund Secretariat.
The administrator of the Common Fund, Irina Toshiado.
The directive was given by the Common Fund Secretariat.
Who at the Secretariat gave this directive?
The administrator.
You are saying that Irina Toshiado gave the directive in Kumasi.
You see, She is not a politician.
Sorry.
She is.
She was recently a member of parliament, really.
But her position now is not that of politics.
Yes, I'm not saying she's even a politician. What I'm saying is that you say she gave the directive, right?
Raymond, I'm telling you, and you take it from me, that the government gave directives to the DCEs to apply 40% for school feeding, 20% for planting for food and jobs, and 20% for NACOP.
Except to say that all that I have from you is by word of mouth. You've also referenced some expression of an individual. I want to know from you that Irina Toshiado stated categorically that government has changed the formula for distributing the district apartment communal fund. That's what you're saying.
Raymond, let me tell you this. If
let's start with a yes or no to my question. First one.
No, you cannot box me into a yes or no.
But
I am telling you that
question.
I am telling you
yes.
that the instruction has been given to the assemblies to apply the funds
by
to
who?
This by the government. By the government.
Sorry,
by the government.
Who are the government? Specific individual, because I want to query the person. I want to be able to go to the person and say that you have done this.
I would prefer you rather call a DCE in now to tell you whether he's been given that directive or not.
The principle simply is that he who alleges must prove. The proof is on you. I'm asking you to give me a name of the person who's giving the directive. You will not be able to give me the name.
Why are you interested in the name?
Because I want to query the person.
The Common Fund Secretariat gave the instructions. If you doubt it, let's leave that point.
Give me the letter date.
Leave that point.
When did they issue the letter?
And rather you should go and query the people and let them deny it. In fact, as I'm sitting here, I will be extremely happy.
Yes, if they deny.
Very, very happy if they say that they did not say so and that it will not happen.
All right. Hold on a second for me. Let me go to the phone lines and go to speak to George Chebafor. George Chebafor has done this assembly work for a very long time. He's a local governance expert. He's been former president of NALAC in times past. Currently, he serves on the governing council of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Mr. Chebafor, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother.
I hope you are doing well, sir.
By the grace of God, I'm cool.
I would reckon that you know that the ministry has issued directives and government is insisting that 40% of the amount of money is required and approved through the District Assembly's Common Fund formula for distribution is now going to be relocated to or allocated to a different institution, not going directly to the District Assembly. Some other 20% is also going to be taken away, i.e., the District Assemblies are only going to get 20% of the amount of monies that the formula determined gave to them. That is what I want to find out from you. Is this true?
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to your cherished listeners. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't cited any specific document giving instructions or directives or whatever it is to MMDAs by the Office of the Administrator of this Assembly Common Fund for application in the direction as described. I have only listened to radio commentaries and radio interviews apparently coming from press conferences that have been held by the minority in Parliament. And I'm also listening through the interaction with my colleague on the other at the other end of the line. But you see, it appears some of the issues have been boxed together. You see, he is making reference to Article 2523 of the Constitution. And Article 2532 provides that the formula for the distribution of this Assembly Common Fund shall be approved by Parliament. There's no ambiguity about that. That's very clear and straightforward. But I am also reminding him that since 1994, the Local Government Act 462 and the Local Governance Act 936 have made provisions for the Minister of Local Government in consultation with the Minister of Finance to determine, the specific areas which assemblies ought to apply their common fund to. And these are legal provisions under the laws that were promulgated by Parliament. As recent as 2016, when the all local governance legislations were put together, consolidated, there's a provision in section 1263 of the Local Governance Act, which specifically states that the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, in consultation with the Minister of Finance, shall determine the areas of application of the funds allocated from the disassemblies common fund administrator for their disassemblies utilization. So there are guidelines that are issued every year since 1994 by successive ministers directing assemblies in tune with the relevant sections of the law 462 and 936 as to how assemblies should utilize the common fund. So I don't think that we have to box the two together if indeed a minister has issued guidelines, because guidelines are issued yearly, every year. I haven't cited that of 2018 anyway. But the argument that it is unlawful for a minister to issue guidelines to assemblies for the utilization of the fund or the application of the fund to specific projects are illegal and unconstitutional, I believe is unfounded because it's grounded in law.
Mr. Chebafo, I'm sure you know that the Constitution is a superior law compared to the Act in this case. The Act of Parliament is a subservient law to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
Yes, I agree.
Are you of the opinion that the dictates of Article 2523 have not been in any way breached with guidelines that seeks to set aside the directives from the government of the Republic of Ghana through Parliament's approval of the formula?
Well, from my understanding of the constitutional provision and the legislations in Act 936, guidelines are different from approval of from formula. That's what I want to say.
Okay, so you're saying that even though the Parliament said that they should use 100% for the activities of the District Assembly, if government asks them to take part of that money and put it into specific projects which may not be in line with the activities of the District Assembly, that will not be in any way diversion?
I don't think that Parliament approved the formula for 100% disbursement by Assembly, because MPs themselves, they took a portion of the common fund.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking is that if Parliament asks them to use the money or give a specific amount of money to the District Assemblies for their utilization, and should it be in the place of any other institution, including the District Assembly Common Fund Administrator, to determine what else the money should be used for? That's the question I'm asking you.
Well, my understanding of the constitutional provision does not really indicate that Parliament shall have to determine the specific projects or programs, that the common fund ought to be used for.
Okay.
The Parliament's responsibility is to approve the formula, and the formula is determined by the Disassembly Common Fund Administrator. That indicates how much money should go to each district assembly by way of distribution.
I have a question.
The distribution has been made. Then the monies are allocated to the assemblies. Then Parliament again passed Act 936, mandating the Minister of Local Government to give that guidelines to the assemblies as to how they should utilize the fund.
So
that is the difference.
So, for example, if the District Assembly is asked specifically to divert monies meant for other operations which might not be in its composite budget, is that in tune with the spirits of Article 2523?
Well, the spirit of Article 252 clearly indicates that the money shall be distributed to assemblies for development.
Yeah.
So I am against any form of central government, interference by way of direction or control of the Disassembly Common Fund from the center. But in this situation, we are placing the issues in context.
Okay.
Because if you have a situation where Parliament has promulgated a law that mandates a minister of local government to give directives to assemblies as to the utilization, and indeed successively, governments have gone ahead to direct assemblies as to how to apply the funds to specific projects, and government now is also doing the same thing. I don't see any travesty. I believe that they are all in sync. So
give me a second.
If we think that the process of enacting a legislation, for instance, in Act 936, Section 126, allowing the minister to give directives as to how the funds should be utilized, then we all have to agree and scrap it off. But once Parliament has enacted the law, and this provision has been pervasive, has been applied since 1994, I don't think that we can do pick and choose. The system, if we think is not right, then all of us must agree.
Okay, so your only claim is that because it's been used since 1994, it is right.
Well, I will not say that it is wrong, but what I'm saying is that there are provisions, existing provisions in the legislation. I've referred you to Section 1263 of the Local Governance Act.
Yeah.
That provision mandates the Minister of Local Government to give directives as to how the funds should be utilized. Okay.
Mr. Chebafo, give me a second and hold the line for me. Let me get quick response to this particular issue. So he says it cannot be true that any law has been breached in this case. In fact, he says the subservient law gives the ministry the right to determine the areas they should spend the money on. Much ado about nothing is what your claim is. That's what you're saying.
You see, first of all, let me explain to your listeners and viewers that Parliament does not determine what amount should be spent on which item. The ministry, through the Common Fund Secretariat, brings yes, they formula. Come to tell us that this is what we want to do. We debate it and approve. Simple. So Parliament does not determine what should be done with the funds. Secondly, he's referring to Article 120, Section 126.3 of Act 936.
Local Government Act.
Local Government Act. I'll read it to you. The minister shall, in consultation with the minister responsible for finance, determine the category of expenditure of the approved development budget of the assemblies. Let me end there. The approved development budget. And we cannot dilute the meaning of development. He knows traditionally that assemblies are expected to run on a daily basis using their IGF. And when Common Fund comes, because the Constitution stipulates that it should be for development of the assemblies, most of the Common Fund money that goes to the assemblies are used for capital projects. He's very, very aware. He's an experienced man. So for us to come around and say that development budget is now planting for food and jobs, school feeding, national builders. Is that what development means? Is that what development means?
Is it the interpretation of the word that's the problem in this case?
Yes, but I don't want us to dilute it.
Because it sounds to me that you've moved away from you are breaching the law to saying that we have a problem with your interpretation of the law.
I'm rather trying to let him drop that section 126.3 completely from the discussion. The point is this. Even if that's what they want to use the money for, why don't you bring it before Parliament? Put it there before Parliament, and Parliament will say that, oh, you want to use 905,999,000 for recurrent expenditure. Bring it before Parliament.
Okay,
and if Parliament approves, fine, you go ahead. But here's a situation where those issues were raised on the floor of Parliament and Parliament rejected it.
Let me put that question to Mr. Chebafo.
At the back of Parliament to give directive that that's what they should be doing. So I know him very well. I thought he would rather be interested in getting more funds to the assemblies because the assemblies don't have the same priorities. If you say
he would answer this question, forgive me. I need to interrupt you and go to him.
Go and plant trees in Kejetia.
you can't plan to use it.
Exactly.
It's a marketplace. Yeah.
So you don't tell assemblies that all of this is for this. You don't omnibus all of them into one basket. You have to
not 100%. 80%.
I have told you what 100% means.
Okay, sorry, forgive me. Let me go to the phone lines and get to speak to George. Hear what the member of parliament is saying. He is questioning your use of Article 126 as justification. It doesn't come in at all. Indeed, he is actually asking that, mindful of your years of advocacy, you should be supporting them in this cause. If you can hear Mr. Chebafo.
Yes, who has spoken vehemently against central government direction and control of this assembly common fund.
Yeah, but you sound like you're defending it now. That's the point. Forgive me, I cannot hear you. And
parties in government play political football with this kind of situation. Because look, in 2012, I was a presiding member of my assembly. There was a guideline issued by the Minister of Local Government at the time, directing every assembly in this country to use its portion of this assembly common fund to build 2 schools under trees and 2 chip compounds. And these 4 projects completely sort of, overwhelmed us. We could not fund the 4 projects with our common fund for the year.
Mr. Chebafo, are those schools under trees things not development?
Yes, I'm coming to that. And with all apologies to the Honorable Member of Parliament, I have a problem with his definition of development.
Okay.
You see, if you look at Article 2522, it talks about 5% of total revenues of Ghana to be allocated to this assemblies for development. So now we will have to define what we look at as development. If you talk about, planting for food and jobs, it is about, enhancing and improving agricultural production in this country. I doubt whether somebody can say that this is not development. If an assembly is providing job opportunities for graduate unemployed youth, I doubt whether somebody would say that this is not development. If assemblies are supporting basic schools with free lunch to enable more children get enrolled in schools, I doubt whether somebody can say that this is not development. So that aspect of his contention has to do with maybe his definition of development. But from my perspective, development includes all the 3 areas that the funds are directed to support. They include that. And I can say with emphasis, he can make reference to the National Development Planning Commission program or plan or development plan for the nation.
I see.
Every district assembly, 216 in the past, has agricultural production or enhancement or improvement, provision of job opportunities to the youth, as well as enhancement of enrollment of children in schools as part of their development, medium-term development plans. Every assembly in this country has that as part of its development plan.
Okay, so hold on a second for me. He's saying that the development question which I raised is more to do with semantics or the interpretation of what development is and what the money is supposed to be put into. Really, that does not raise a very serious constitutional question.
With due respect to Mr. Chebafo, I think that he is using semantics to veer away from the issue at hand. You can look at the distribution formula. Already 50% of the appropriated fund, the fund allocated under the appropriation bill, is going for...
Oh, no, forgive me, I need to interrupt you. We'll take a break and come back and continue with that front on this particular note. We're still delving into how our District Assembly Common Fund did not get 80% of the amount of money supposed to get for the year in question, 2018. Deal, legal, right? That's what we are dealing with on our front today. Back to our front. We needed to take that particular break, a major one, of course, but we need to conclude on the conversation here in the studios. My guest on the discussion on this Assembly conference is a man who led the minority in doing that press conference and raising the question about what is happening to the 80%, which he says have been diverted into other non-core functions of the District Assembly in this particular case. And this is being challenged by George Chebafo, who is a member of the Governing Council of the Local Government Ministry in this particular interview. We should now get the final words from the Honourable Member of Parliament, Benjamin Podo, who is with me here in the studio, who is Deputy Ranking on the Local Government Ministry. So tell me the way forward on this matter. Are you going to court? Because I knew that a similar matter was taken to court some time ago. That is to do the Assemblies 5% that was supposed to be put into their coffers, which was capped. Are you going back to court on this matter?
Let's finish the earlier issue which Mr. Chebafo raised.
Yeah, because
he was saying that these other directives outside parliamentary approval are also development.
Yeah.
So what prevents the Common Fund Secretariat from bringing it before Parliament at the time that they were submitting the other proposals? Because, as I said earlier, there are 19 line items here. So what prevented them from adding the other 3 so that we will all know how much actually is going to the Common Fund?
Oh, no, forgive me, my time is up. Forgive me. I'm sure we should be able to do this conversation by that time. But folks, thank you for joining us on today's edition of UPfront. It's been wonderful having you.